second so we can reattach that. And then we can place that back. And I believe okay, there we go. And I believe with that, yeah, I think we are indeed live. Okay. Yeah, very nice. Alright. I believe it is about time to start. Why not? Hello, I am Sentimus Prime, and for this weekend's live stream, I have four. Uh, I have four deluxe trans. I have four Transformer figures. And I remember that I have shown off before, but wait, but what I guess waited until now to actually like open them up uh, and I guess to play with them. Why not? So, as we can see, right in front of us, we have the two deluxes from the Legacy run, and two deluxes from the Legacy United run. Now, for a little bit of context, I got both of these plus other like Transformer 2 packs at a local Walmart. Not sponsored, but I got these at a Walmart for like 15. It was like around like a holiday, like Black Friday related sale, and because of that, I end up getting these two packs for $15 a two pack. And I have opened up some before, but today we have these two I guess these four to open. Oh man. Oh, how silly of me. Hi there. Yeah, I already have like I've already previously owned like a Elita one from Legacy, but Dark, and I was like initially thinking about like just opening like this up, opening the Tarantulas, but leaving the Elita in their box. But for reasons that I'm going to show you later, I might actually end up just opening this one anyway. And so after that calamity, let's start. So we are going to, so we're going to move this aside, and we're going to start with these two, the two Legacy ones. So to start this off, we can cut them. Let's say get a close like rotation of basically just like of like how they're packaged together, basically. So basically, they're packaged like this. They're in this sort of like plastic shrink wrap kind of thing. As part of like the two packs, like the two for. And yeah, they have shrink wrap. They packaged two of them. Packaged shrink them, package them in this plastic shrink wrap, along with this, as well as like a cardboard like backing to help keep things stable, as well as a specific scanning label for the to scan at like the checkout. And to prevent like confusion with the items, they stickered over the the ones the scanning labels on the two figures, and then just like put in this one here. That's nice, but and yeah, this like also provides like a sort of window display for this does like an but an interesting benefit for like the legacy like boxes in particular, because the box like for waves like legacy and legacy united and like waves is like various waves like during that time, they ended like phasing out like the plastic like window displays for a bit to leave them open in the boxes, making the boxes way less stable as a result. However, interesting benefit here, because of the shrink wrap that they're wrapped in, they have at least something to protect the figures from the outside world. But of course, this is a sort of unboxing extravaganza kind of thing. That's gonna change right about that's gonna change right about now. Of course I did that to create an opening which will make it pretty easy to unwrap. And moving this stuff aside and tossing that out, here we have our two legacy deluxes. That of course being Elita 1 as well as Tarantulas. Elita 1 as well as the Predacon Tarantulas, to be more specific. That's exciting. Very neat. And so before we open these up, let's actually like take a closer look at like the boxes at like their full, like as they are. So take a quick look at Elita 1's box. We of course now have the figure. Oh, I didn't realize that before opening it up. There's a little bit of paint mess up there too. That's something I can mention in a minute. But anyway, here's the front of the box with the box art, with the pretty neat box art of her vehicle mode, as well as like the typical layout for your legacy packaging. The name up here on here. Yeah, got your Transformers Legacy logo, Transformers up here, Generations, Cartomy, Hasbro, Deluxe labelings, recommended age, open figure display, as well as a very legacy specific like box shape. Whereas on this side, you do get a nice look at her like robot mode box art, as well as like a close up of her face. down here you do get like your labelings and stuff, and then like yeah, the scanning, like the shopping like scanning code thing appears stickered over as I've mentioned. And then back here, which was previously covered by that, we can take a look at product shots of Elita 1 as well as her vehicle mode, as well as the number of steps it should take to transform her. As well as like other like bonus, little like other things about the packaging, you get like nice little details around, as well as like whatever this is. Yeah, very neat. I believe you also get like Elita 1's name in in the Cybertronian like jargon language. So that's nice. Now I believe this is like code in like in that same like Transformers like Cybertronian jargon. And then on this side, we do get like some box art, which does, which actually, yeah, in this case, it lines up with the Legacy box, which actually does like line up with the box on Tarantulas, which, by the way, since we have talked about her box, we'll talk about Tarantulas real quick. So for Tarantulas, it's pretty much the same here. Only real difference is that instead of the Elita 1 specific stuff, you get Tarantula specific stuff. So in this case, you get a really nice box art of his spider mode. On this side, you get a real nice look at his box art for his robot mode, as well as a close-up of his face, as well as his name in that jargon. And then when you flip it over, you get product shots for Tarantulas instead, and it should be, and this, I guess it should take around 19 steps to transform, I guess. The number of steps it should take to transform, I guess. Nice. And then over here on this side, you get this box art. Which of course, yeah, if you line it up, if you stack it up behind Elita 1's box, in this case, if you line them up like that, you get like a nice look at like the poster art for, like the sort of poster art for the first arc of Legacy. And with it, you get what appears to be either Cybertron or some other like metal planet. You get like Earth and stuff in the background, as well as a lot of the figures released during that first wave of Legacy. So that's neat. I believe, yeah, like neither of these two are in like the box up poster art, because I believe these showed up in like a later wave. I believe it might have been, these two might have been released at like wave 3 of Legacy, wave 3 or 4 if I believe. If like, you know, like wave like 2 or 3, maybe 4, maybe even 4. I'm willing to guess wave 3, like that these two figures came out for Legacy. Because like each like lineup of like these like trilogy like lineup kind of thing, they usually come in multiple waves before switching it up, which is neat. No, it always come. They kind of do like, for the most part, like come up with something fancy for the box art, for like the box style at least. But yeah, with that we can go ahead and actually no. Before that, there's like one more thing. As I mentioned, I do have Elita 1 here. I do already have an Elita 1. So I was initially thinking about just not opening Elita 1 in this case, but then I realized that after taking this out, she has some like pretty significantly like splotchy like paint job that I've never really noticed before on this figure. Whereas on this figure, despite still having something entirely different on her chest, that's something completely different from the other figure. This figure, yeah, like still has like a seemingly like way more crisp and clean paint job. So for that, for that, I guess we start with Elita 1 real quick. So we have our thing. Let's go ahead and open it up. Now, in the case of these legacy boxes, in the case of these legacy boxes, it is ultimately easier to open them and pull them out from the bottom rather than the top. There we go. Let's close that for now. I'm not being very crisp with the unboxing for this one, unfortunately. Open this up. I believe, if I'm not mistaken, I think I have already unboxed the figure before, I believe, and reviewed it actually. So you can look at if you want, you can look uh, at those videos to give you to let you know like my full thoughts on regarding this figure. Percy's set. Go. Open that up. And I believe after that we can go ahead and we're gonna have so many of these plastic ties. Okay, then after that we can. There we go. Now we can just close that up. Set the box off to the side for now. Pull the figure itself. Go. We gotta fold this in a little bit before we can push her out. There we go. Set that off to the side. Sweep these out of the way for now. goodness, there's going to be so many of those. Then, as for this is actually a little accessory pouch, little accessory burrito containing all of her included accessories. You then toss this out. And here we have her included accessories, including two differently designed translucent blasters, as well as this piece, which appears to be her forehead. Look at that, it's her forehead, which can of course just plug into there. And as far as the accessories go, you can just plug them. Huh. Oh, that's interesting. Her hands, I think her hands aren't, okay, you gotta like rotate it in like very carefully, because we all know how translucent plastic can be. And that is a very tight fit for her hand, for her guns. Which does bring the question, like, how are the tolerances for this figure differ for the ones, for the tolerances on the figure that I have previously? Because for this previous figure, I don't, when it comes to plugging them in, at least it was way more easier. But moving the guns aside, that is a bit more tough. Let's actually like check out like the tolerances now. Something else you could mention, on the one I've already had opened, you can tell that the backpack seems to be more compact. Seems to be a little more compact. That's something I did with my figure, mostly because that's how I prefer it looking, to be honest. So in terms of options on how to make your figure look, you can just like make it, you can just like compact this down to make it, you can just like fold this back. Oh, okay, so that's pretty much the same. So for my previous figure, I had like this tab that is, I guess, supposed to tap into there, but kind of just rests in there. It's mostly just gravity holding it in place, basically. In this case, like, the tab is less useless than on the other one. However, wait, no, never mind, that's pretty much the same. The only, I guess, difference with the tolerances for the backpack, I believe, I'm noticing so far, is that one of the joint, I believe this joint here connected to the figure, feels a little bit tighter, maybe? but even in it, it's like not that much of a difference. Now it's the head on this one, it was fine. It does bring back ever so slightly. I think this one's like even less. I think this one's actually a little, just ever so slightly less springy. Still like kind of noticeable, but it's like not as uh noticeable as on the previous figure. Shoulders, like rotations, back and forth rotations feel tight and feel a little bit tighter than they do feel nice and tight, as well as like outward movement feels just the right amount of tightness. Whereas these ones, obviously, I've the joints there are about the same. Oh, the knees are actually like real nice on this one. How are the knees holding up? They're they're still pretty good, but like these ones feel like this is probably the best one knee out of the four knees, to be honest. The other ones feel great too. I feel like this one's like the nicest. Feels extra buttery smooth. Ankle tilts on this one. They have like a big hook to them. Yeah, they kind of all do that. So I guess in terms of tolerances, aside from like the weird thing with like how absolutely crazy tight it feels on, let's actually try to switch around. Is it the guns or is it the hands? Ah, strange. Like they actually feel better. These ones actually feel better, whereas I think it's actually the guns. I think the guns just have slightly thicker barrels. I think it's like ever so slightly different. I believe like some of the reasoning for that is that I believe these ones have been worn down just enough to make them feel extra nice in the hands. That makes them like plug into the hands extra good. I think the major difference with tolerances has got to be, yeah, the gun handles really. I don't know why the handles for the guns feel much tighter. It could very well be the hand's fault in some way. I feel like there's something. I feel like it has more to do with the handles on the gun more so than. Yeah, more so than that. But in terms of tolerances, they're about kind of samey. Overall, I guess I'm kind of more used to this one, but these ones sort of feel like almost the same. In terms of paint, as But like on a glance, at a glance, they both seem very samey. Now keep in mind, this is the one with, uh, yeah, this is the one I just opened up, and this is the one I've had in my collection for some time. But if you look at this one, you notice that there's a little bit of pink where the maroon is, a little bit of maroon where the white is, a little bit more maroon. Don't know how good that is on camera, but there's a little bit more maroon bleeding into the white there, as well as face sculpt, which seems fine. It seems fine. Seems okay. Like overall, it's pretty decent, but I do notice now that I look at it real closely, there are some noticeable splotches here and there. Whereas this one, this one, oh, that's a noticeable change. The hips, the forward and backward movement for the hips. Like the hips on this one feel slightly looser than the ones on my first copy. But anyway, but as we look on here, the maroon splotches are like non-existent. Neither is the pink spot, the pink splotching. However, after opening it up, I'm noticing a little bit of magenta over here. I believe that magenta paint is like coming from it's like paint that's supposed to be down here, but there's a little bit up here for some reason. I wonder why that is. And is it easily removable without ruining the paint? But that is a weird difference. But I believe another noticeable difference is that I'm not sure how well this is capturing on camera, and is this actually a difference? It could be. I think the face sculpting on I think the face paint on the face for this new copy it looks slightly more crisp than this one. But overall, it's honestly close enough to the same. Okay. But I think we've spent long enough on the robot mode. Let's go ahead and take off these guns and transform it. We shouldn't need the instructions in this case since I've already transformed this figure on camera before. So for this figure, I do like the neck joint on that one. That one feels slightly nicer. Let's extend this back up a little bit. Let's flip this out. let's then flip these out and tap those. Then let's tap the legs together and then use these double, bend the knees and use these double hinge, rotate out these double hinge things. Utilize the double hinge and then flip the feet around, rest the feet up like that. Then rotate it by the waist. And then after that we can, go back to the front, make sure that's lined up. Make sure we tab on the fenders up, the hood, tap those up. Then what we do is we'll rotate the arms by the bicep. We need to make sure that that the legs get tapped into this back panel. Sure that lines up, and making sure that the arm kibble gets lined up with all this stuff here. Making sure that the forearms get tapped in at those 3 spots. I believe it's something slightly I think that might fix that. And I believe for now, that will be it for that for now. In terms of like the transformation and vehicle mode, the vehicle mode I guess looks. No wait, the vehicle mode I'm also noticing a little bit of that paint splotching, but this is a newer one. The vehicle mode, as well as like a weird like sort of smudge there. But on the older one, it seems fine. But in terms of like the transformation, I actually think that the tolerances for this one are slightly for the tolerances for this one overall are, I think, ever so slightly worse than on the older on the one I've already had. But regardless, it is nice to. But regardless, I didn't really get this 2-pack for this figure anyway. I already have the figure, and I guess I really shouldn't have like unboxed it at all. I guess to even start with, because I've already had this figure, and it's overall like not that much of a difference. So I am having some slight issues making sure everything stays tabbed in for this copy. I don't think I had to deal with the same issues on the other copy, but that's kind of it's fine. I guess I'll have to like look into that more to find any more like finer differences. But for now, I have 2 of them. So I guess if I want like one in vehicle mode, one in robot mode, I guess I can. But ultimately, it's just one of those like doesn't really matter kind of things. Up next, tarantulas. Let's get the tarantulas open, because this is like the actual reason I got this 2-pack. The Alita one was just like more so just like a happenstance kind of thing. So like it came with the Alita one. And I wanted a tarantulas, so I might as well get this. Because that sets the box to the side. Sets the instructions and all that off to the side for now. And then of course the little plastic things. Let's go ahead and get these open. This one is not even attached to the figure. But let's of course open that up anyway. And let's open the accessory burrito. Then let's close that up. And let's set this off to the side. Let's sweep all this out of the way. And let's open this up. Here are tarantulas accessories. It's actually kind of neat. So that, and then here, of course, is the boy himself. It's Tarantulas. Oh, that's sick. That is sick. Here's a look at him from the back. That's pretty cool. That is pretty cool. And we can, of course, rotate these out a little bit to give them a more spread out kind of look. This is more splayed out. Look at that. That is pretty. He's a pretty purple spider. Now, just now, apparently, now also, just like the Elita 1 I've unboxed, I've already kind of uh, played, kind of unboxed and messed with this figure uh, before. But in this case, I've got, but in this case, I've messed with uh, the sort of like canceled colors repaint, like recolored version that came out in that Cliff Jumpers death. And Cliff Jumpers always dies 4-pack. So yeah, so I've technically already messed with this figure just like that, but unlike Elita 1, this is uh, it's the in the colors of like the actual Tarantulas character as as we know him. And of course we can of course like start off with like checking out the tolerances of the articulation. Like the head feels alright. It does clash because of its shaping. It does unfortunately clash a bit, and it does like have that slight springy zone towards the middle, towards like facing forward. So it does have that. Waist joint feels good. Forward and back movement feels nice. Backwards movement feels okay. Up and down movement feels good. The double, I guess in this case, the double like bicep rotation, like the upper thigh rotations for that connect the spider legs to the shoulders, that feels nice. The lower biceps towards the elbows, this one feels slightly tighter than I would like, but this one feels fine. Elbows for both feel good. This one's ever so slightly looser than I would like, but this one feels really nice. Then as for like the individual spider legs, they'll have it all on these sort of ball joints. Some feel loose than others, but overall they feel they feel okay. I feel like none of them like feel like overly tight, like ridiculously loose. I think the closest one, I think the closest one to like ridiculously loose is probably this one, which like doesn't take anything to remove it at all. Like yeah, it just like kind of moves it around, kind of moves around very loosely a little bit. In terms of the legs, outward movement feels really nice. Forward and back movement feels okay. Bicep thigh rotation feels buttery smooth. That's nice. Double joint at the knees. Like the lower knee on this one feels slightly loose, slightly on the loose side, but overall still holds. It's still fine for the most part. Then for the feet, we have forward and back movement. which feels great, then ankle tilts, which feels fine. Then I'm kind of not gonna be. I think tolerances are gonna feel like slightly different for this figure. I think the significant difference for this one is honestly for tolerances that I'm noticing, at least in spider mode, is honestly that none of these spider legs on this figure feels as loose as this one right here. Feels, but the other legs feel on par with how. Actually, like, now that I think about it, like the legs on this one feel a little bit more robust. Now, I like how realistic that spider looks. But anyway, we can of course attach the included weapons, which is a sort of crossbow kind of weapon, which he does typically come with, and then a sort of buzzsaw kind of saw blade kind of weapon that I believe is supposed to be a nod, which I which yeah I believe is supposed to be a nod to his transmetal form, or closer to a nod to his transmetal form. But people honestly, but from what I've seen from this accessory in particular, I've honestly seen it more often as an accessory that people use for the legacy knockout more so than just tarantulas. And in terms of, and that's how the two look together. I do notice that the round circular saw blade portion of this, it seems to be done in a sort of light lavender kind of silver rather than just the other kind of silver. You can see that there's more of a purple like tint to it, and then yeah, like the hilt part is like black. And it's okay. And so at this point, we can now go ahead and transform this figure. Let's flip this over. So we flip these legs up. We flip the spider head out. So yeah, so we flip this up. We apparently like press that over his head. We can then plug utilize the double bend at the knee to plug in the legs. Then Then after that, I guess we can... Hold on, wait, how does that work? Hold on. This one's kind of supposed to be hinged out just... Let's see what I'm doing wrong with the instructions. I think what's supposed to happen... Yeah, I think that was it. I think that was it. I ended up like plugging the legs in too soon, because if you untap, if you leave room in the legs for the spider man, for the spider butt to move out of the way, you can't just rotate it and just simply like say simply come on. Yeah, and I believe you're also supposed to rotate the arms this way. You can then no. So back to the instructions. Now I'm having issues trying to fit the legs in the mandible spot now, I guess. Oh, Oh, and I guess I suppose I should. Okay, so the head is able to fully rotate around. I just wasn't trying hard enough, I guess. But for some strange reason, it doesn't seem to want to fit as well. For some strange reason. Come on. Okay, there we go. Okay. And I believe, yeah, there we go. It now lines up better with the transformation. And then the instructions say to rotate the head this way, but for some reason it doesn't seem to want to sit in as well. Maybe sideways is better? Sideways is not better. So I guess having like that is good enough, I guess. Then as far as the legs go, we can do the normal stuff with that. We can put that in, make sure that lines up. I guess we do want to rotate the head in order for the part to not clash with like the paint. Okay, then after that we that so that lines up better. Then after that we just, I guess, line up the legs. And yeah, and despite how much looser the legs are compared to the orange spider, to the orange tarantulas, it still feels, yeah, still works. And then here is the awesome purple spider next to the orange one. Look at that. That looks awesome. Look at that. I look away, arachnophobes, because we got some nice, realistic looking spider transformers. Okay. And to be honest, like they're both like really cool, to be honest. I like both of them. I like both color variations of these. But yeah, this one is honestly more iconic because it's like what we see in the show. Then of course we can just plug this in, like, I guess like however we're supposed to plug these in. But for now, that's Tarantulas. Spiral mode looking splendid and looks really good next to his canceled colors version. That's really cool. I like that. That's nice. And so with that, we can then move on from the two legacy deluxes that we have for the Legacy United pair. And so what we have here for Legacy United is Cosmos and Wheeljack. This is and yeah, this might not look like your traditional Wheeljack because this is the Wheeljack from the Armada universe. I guess it's the Armada Wheeljack. So let's go ahead and get these two open now. This is the pair I've been more excited for because I've been looking forward to these two figures for quite some time. And then as far as this goes, this is pretty much just the same. So move that out of the way. There we go. And here we have our two Legacy United Deluxes. Ever so slight amount of whatever fall damage the Cosmos box took. Very nice. But aside from that, these boxes are very nice. I don't know how nice. This is something I do praise Legacy United packaging over the other Legacy packaging because for both in the case of like Legacy and as well as Legacy Evolution, the sort of second part of between Legacy and Legacy United, for Legacy and Legacy Evolution like boxes, uh, because like these boxes like didn't have because of like how uh, oddly shaped they are, combined with the fact that they don't have nearly as much support towards the front because the window display is just open, combined with the fact that the boxes are just made out of like a sort of extra thin kind of cardboard, which as a result makes it feel kind of makes it feel extremely flimsy and very easy to damage as a result. But by the time that Legacy United rolled around, they came out in these boxes that are much more stable, are much more sturdy. They seem to get the memo with that because boxes seem way more sturdy. Yeah, seem way more sturdy than that of the previous two seasons, like toy waves. This is something like I've appreciated with the Legacy United packaging, despite it still having the same flaws overall. I do appreciate how they were able to like sturdy up the boxes before like putting the plastic windshields back for future releases. But anyway, here are the boxes. We'll take a look at these ones. We'll start off with Cosmos. Here's a look at it from the front. You get some nice like box art look at the vehicle mode, and also like the other things that we've mentioned on it before. Only this time, huh, the packaging little rings keep sticking onto my skin. I believe some fell into, and yeah, I believe some fell into my parts, my Cheer Factory parts, but I'll deal with that later. But for now, let's take a look at this. You have like all the stuff here that you basically get like the same basic layout all around. Only now it's in like this nice fancy sort of nice like deeper blue kind of thing. So for comparison here we have like the Legacy packaging done up in like mostly like purples and greens. You're sort of like nice like sort of bright like neon-y colors. Whereas here it's done up where here the theme is all done up in like deep blues and like a cool blues and purples combined with like fiery like orange and yellows. That's what including like background stuff like that, which kind of like fits with like whatever like motif it was going for. So here we have like an open display at the window, open display of the figure itself. Bottom. Here's the side showing off like the box art for Cosmos robot mode, as well as a close up towards same thing here, but close up towards its face. Then back here, it's a little bit product shots, as well as like the number of steps it should take to transform. And then over here on this side, you do get half of like the poster art for Legacy United, which of course was part of the 40-year anniversary of Transformers back in 2024. And then for Wheeljack, it's pretty much like the same a layout, including like the Legacy United stuff. Only this time it's for Armada Wheeljack instead. And we got some nice product shots for Wheeljack. To the top, real quick, for both of them. And then he got some nice box art for his vehicle mode, nice box art for his robot mode, as well as a close-up of his face, and then both of their names here in the Cybertronian jargon, like language. And so for it, and with that, that's honestly like pretty much it for like the boxes here. Aside from, yeah, there's one more thing we can do here is line up the two boxes, these two boxes, and there we have, pretty much the idea of, and here we have like the sort of poster art for Legacy United, and like this one's like real cool too. Unfortunately, like the Cosmo box for some reason has a little bit of damage here and there, but it's must have fell off a high place, but it's fine. In this case, you do get a lot of like cool like stuff. We got a lot more characters featured in here. You got Magmatron. You got like the armorizers. You got a lot of like crazy stuff in here. You get a little bit of animated represented here. You get a little even Chase from Rescue Bots is partaking in this fight. Got like get a little bit of Armada representation up here. Get Windblade, some more like armorizers. Get like yeah, that guy. I believe that's a pirate lion dude. I know his name, but I don't know his name right now. I'm blanking out on his name right now. You do get Energon Megatron though, as well as a Beast Wars the second character. Yeah, like Tasmanian kid, as well as like Tiger Hawk. That's really awesome. That's nice. I believe Thundertron, like Lyle. Whatever this guy's name is, blanking out on it right now. I think it's Thundertron. I think. Anyway, you get like some really cool stuff. You do get a lot of like cool stuff. And that's not even like half of like what's for lined up for Legacy United. You get a lot of like cool stuff with the. Get a lot of cool stuff with the Legacy trilogy. But enough of that. Let's go ahead and open up these two. Let's start off with Wheeljack. So Wheeljack, we'll open this up. We'll open it up like usual. Slice. A little bit of tape trapped in there. And we'll open that up. We'll set the box off to the side for now. Don't need the instructions because Now, I'm not going to say I already owned this figure. Now, in this, we'll Wheeljack next, because in this case, I never owned like this figure, but I have like, even though I never owned like any version of this figure before, I have like, I do remember like playing around with a copy of the Siege variant of the Red Alert, the Siege Red Alert. I remember like having good memories with that figure. And yes, of course, Armada Wheeljack. Using some like using like some of the like retooling from like the Shattered Glass Sideswipe retool, but at its but basically this is basically just the same figure as Siege Sideswipe from way back when I guess first revealed in like December 2019, but I believe I believe like that was like 2018. They got released for 2019, I guess. They were like it was like back in 2019. I believe 2020 was Earthrise, I believe. Then, yeah. Accessory burrito. Let's close this up. Set that off to the side. Let's open this up. To reveal his accessories. In this case, set that off. In this case, he gets like these sort of sword pieces. He gets these kind of swords, as well as these two accessories, which you can plug into each other. This, which is basically just the same, which is basically just like the same missile that a lot of the variants of this mold have like experienced. So it does come with 4 accessories. Two of them have been around since the first release of this figure. I believe if I'm correct, I believe this is the newest. I believe this is the current, as of the time of this stream, I believe this is currently the newest variation of this. At this point, like crazy the amount of uses that this mold has had is like kind of crazy, because there's been like people like making like videos about like all the different variants of this Siege mold. And yeah, like despite like the new like toolings and stuff, this is the Siege mold. And this is honestly exciting to me, because this is basically just a Siege figure, which yeah, like it's kind of exciting for me, because Siege is like when I started I was actually like started collecting like Transformers stuff back when Siege was out on shelves. Back when Siege was the hot new thing. It's kind of crazy to think about now. to see like this figure like so many times, and yeah, this is like the first time I've actually like got to own it. Let's see how the tolerances are. Now, if if this figure suffers through like mold degradation, now his head turns really nice and smoothly towards his right, but towards his left, our right, it's a little bit more. It's a little bit harder to turn, but it's still doable. Still doable. Got a decent range of motion on his head. This, unfortunately, doesn't really tab in as well. It does tab in, kinda, but unfortunately not as tight as I would like to. But it's manageable at the very least. Shoulders surprisingly feel outward movement feels really nice, surprisingly, as well as back and forth movement. This one feels slightly looser than this one, but they're both fine. Bicep rotation still feels good. Knee bend and elbow bend feels good. Now they don't have wrist rotation, but they do have wrist bends, and the wrist hinge feels nice and feels like nice and sturdy for both of them. Waist rotation feels great. Hip movement feels great back and forth, and yeah, the hips are great. Thigh rotation. It's a little bit feels a little bit mold. Feels a this one this one's a bit more. This one's a bit better, but this one feels kind of rough. Like they're not like way too loose or way too tight. It's just that this one feels a little bit more lumpy, whereas this one still feels a little bit lumpy, but it's nowhere near as noticeable. And then knees. In terms of knees feel surprisingly good. The knees are surprisingly tight. But I have no doubts that the knees might loosen up over time a little bit. Ankle tilts feel good, as well as yeah, and ankle tilts, yeah, feel good. Overall, the tolerances for this guy's articulation feels surprisingly good. Now, in terms of plugging stuff into his hands, it's a bit tight. If I think it feels like around as tight as like the Elita 1 like guns I just felt. I just opened. And for this we can this one feels honestly a little bit it feels great in this hand, surprisingly. And then in terms of this one's kind of weird. It's like, what is that? It's like, oh, it's a 3mm peg. Why is this a 3mm? What? And yeah, and I believe that like kind of works. You can just plug it in up his butt for some reason. But yeah, it's slightly. Some of the tolerances feel weird when it comes to holding his weapons. But overall, he holds it, and he holds them well enough. I believe it's actually supposed to hold these, but the box is having me wanting me to hold them like this, where the waffling is like towards the middle. It does have swords. It's a wheeljack with swords, which is of course popularized uh, during the during the Prime show. Ooh, you can't just like plug the missile like thing on his forearm. You can plug it on his forearm. You can plug it on his shoulder. And Siege had like some really good stuff. Oh yeah, that's right. Speaking of which, I had some of the blast effects. Yep, he still holds some of the blast effects. That's awesome. Doesn't yeah. Wait, is that? Even after all this time, he still has some of that. Still has, yeah. Even after all this time, still has the ever so slight amount of like the sculpting in the on the shoulder to replicate some battle stuff where he's getting shot in the shoulder. It's a little bit loose. It's very shallow. It's very so it barely works, but still does. So that's nice. That's awesome. That is cool. Then, of course, it has a separate tab where you can just plug this into his shoulder and have it like that. You can actually like plug it into either shoulder. Like either shoulder, so that's nice. That's really nice. I like that. I like that. Tolerances feel weird in one or two spots, but overall the tolerances for this guy feel nice. Still feel nice considering that this mold was used like a billion times and no doubt will be used at least a few more times. Then up here, like, you get like some really nice detail on the chest where he was an Autobot, but someone ended up like getting like battle damaged in some way. Seeing like some of the internal like robotic like greebling down there under the hood. That's real nice. Got some engine details in there. Then down here, you get the faintest little bit of a Decepticon symbol, indicating that, yeah, this dude's a Decepticon. Once, yeah, it having the rare case of a Decepticon that used to be an Autobot turning Decepticon. It's like, which is a lot more rare than you think. Like, especially like compared to a Decepticon turning Autobot kind of thing. It was kind of rare to see like the flip that, but like this version of Wheeljack was like the prime, was like the like main example of a Autobot turning Decepticon. He has like swords, which yeah, the idea of a Wheeljack using swords will later be expanded upon with Prime, Transformers Prime. But of course, the idea of Wheeljack with swords started with Armada. That's nice. That is really cool. That is really awesome. And now with that, let's go ahead and transform this figure. Take this stuff off and let's transform. Let's get it to transform. So this. So of course this flips up, this flips down. Move the arms up. You flip out these panels. You open up these shins, revealing the inside. You then, I guess, push these in, like revealing more vehicle mode detail. Then you flip the feet in, you then plug the legs together. Then rotate by the waist. Flip the hands in. Bend the elbows 90. Then sort of tuck the arms in, nice and tidy. Then I guess then we flip this around. Make sure that's lined up. Close the shins up. Close these door panels up. And then after that, here we have the car mode. Oh my goodness. You know, there is a reason why why Hasbro reused this figure so many times. It's just like to put it simply, it's just like a really good figure. You know, like after holding it in my hands, it is there is no doubt in my mind. This is a figure that was definitely they definitely knew they'd done something right with this mold, because this mold got reused so many times, and which kind of became a sort of a funny thing later on. But if you really think about it, this figure right here is just simply good. It's just simply it's just that's just basically the magic that is the Siege Sideswipe mold. It kind of transcends time, because this was a figure designed way back in 2019. This was released back in late 2018, early 2019. And got reused many times since. And yet the latest release of this is it's a whole trilogy. It's and yet we still get to the same basically the same figure. It's been retooled multiple times, but functionally it's the same figure for like the tail end of the Legacy trilogy. It's kind of crazy. Kind of crazy, really. And yeah, of course, it rolls as nicely as you would expect. We got like some really nice colors. Got some really nice colors. And then, of course, we also have these, which we can plug into the sides. This is a new thing they've added for this variant, for like this tools like variant, where why is this one not fully tapping in? Oh, there we go. There we go. And then like the weapons just flawlessly just get stored there on across the side. This is a nice extra little bonus thing, really. To make this figure like extra nice, like nicer, and yeah, like you can. And as for this, you can just like I guess plug it on the top like that, like how you normally would, which, admittedly, is slightly like more like integrated than, well, like less goofy looking than it would normally be, but still very goofy looking. However, you can just plug it into the side and have it look like that. That is really cool. Yeah, you just plug it into the side like that. And here, like, man, this looks awesome. Like the robot mode, yeah, like in terms of this figure, like the robot mode was good. Robot mode was really good. Vehicle mode is awesome. And then the transformation, it and then like basically to sum up like the transformation, it just works. Like nothing, like it all feels like so like natural. Like doesn't feel too simple, not too complex. It's honestly just like a very nice, it's a very nice, effective, uh, transformation into a really nice car. It's just a really cool. It's just a really good, uh, mold. To be real with you, which is just like, and this was only like a small portion of what Siege was, in my opinion. Just like a really, really awesome one. Definitely really nice to actually like own this figure, and a really cool variant of this one. This is a nice like a nice it's a really cool one. Like regardless of it being a Armada figure, which is still like it's still like Armada. It's like it's Armada. It's, of course it's gonna look nice. Like even separated from that, it just looks really cool. Like the black with like the nice like clear with like the nice clear with like the nice blue windshields. Got like a nice like subtle hints. Got a nice like pops of gold as well as a nice subtle hint of that nice light uh that nice light teal color, and a nice like light blue color that just accents it. It's just so good, man. It's just so good. That is really nice. I like that. That is cool. Easily like a huge, obviously a huge standout in the stream. I like that. That is nice. And then last but most certainly not least for tonight, we have Cosmos. And let's go ahead and open this guy up. And unlike everything else from tonight, like this is a figure I just have not experienced before. Like not haven't gotten like an extra copy of it, haven't gotten a repaint, and not even like experiencing the figure long before having like past good memories with it before. This is just my simple full-on reaction to a figure I've been looking forward to for quite some time now. As simple as that. Set this off to the side. Go ahead and put this up. Get that open. Go ahead and get this guy open. I believe after that we can just pick him up out of the thing. We can set this off to the side. We can brush this off. Let's go ahead and open this up. There it is. Here is the accessories. We get two of them. We get a gun. And we get his flag. Which I believe like the whole idea of like this accessory is that plug this into the gun and you can hold it by the barrel to sort of have as a flag. Some pretty neat stuff. For, of course, even this figure has a little bit more backstory than it seems, because this figure was originally released for Velocitron, for the Velocitron lineup, and because he's not typically known for racing, they gave him, doesn't have anything like that relates to racing. They kind of gave him a checkered flag to sort of be as part of that, to sort of help him be part of the whole event, kind of the whole like lineup. But anyway, we do have to transform his feet a little bit out of the box. We might actually need in this case we might actually need the instructions just to figure out stuff. And I'm gonna have the instructions right here. I'm gonna have them ready to go for when I do that. But for now, let's go ahead and check out the tolerances. Actually, no, I'm gonna have that off to the side. Let's check out the tolerances for this guy. So for his head, it rotates well enough. Rotates good. It does have a, huh? Actually, it does have a good bit more range than I thought it would. I thought he would. That's nice. Got good. The outward movement is a bit more loose on both of them. It's a bit more loose than I would like it. I would like them to be, but this one feels ever so slightly better. Like not as loose. This one feels slightly not as loose as this one is. Rotation, like hip. This one's a bit too tight because whenever I rotate this one, it accidentally kind of activates the kind of messes with the articulate, kind of messes with the transformation joint. So for this one, I kind of have to press it down as I'm rotating it, otherwise it just does that. Does this one do it? This one actually doesn't. Yeah, this one's actually, this shoulder feels good. This one feels too loose at this axis, but too tight at this axis. So this shoulder feels a little bit messy, but this shoulder feels great in terms of the bicep rotation. They both feel okay, not great, but okay. Elbows, they both got some really nice smooth elbows. Got some real nice elbows. And then these just kind of rotate inward. This one's slightly tighter, but this one feels okay too. Rotation at the waist feels nice. Does have hip skirts, which do get out of the way for leg movement. The forward and back movement for the legs feels nice. They feel slightly tighter for this leg, but they both feel good. Outward movement feels great on this leg. Feels a little bit looser than I would like on this leg though, but it should be fine. Thigh swivel feels good. They both feel alright, but I will say that this one has a little bit of a thoop when it's fully straightened out, when it fully lines up with the upper part of the thigh. Whereas this one, you don't get that anywhere near as much, but you do get the slightest faint of it. And then for knees, it just simply has good knees. And then for the ankle tilts, it also has some really good ankle tilts. I wonder what's... Okay, so yeah, these are supposed to plug in. These are supposed to supposed to be like that. Come on, Cosmos. Come on. There we go. So it's so his heel. So that's what his heels are supposed to be like in robot mode. And here's the look at his back. He does have a little bit of a backpack, but overall it just looks really cool. Just looks really cool. You know, look at that. And then finally, we'll take a look at the tolerances for the hands. That one feels significantly tight. That one feels really tight. Like, man. Why am I getting... This one also feels really tight in the hands. And then of course we can, and like, why am I getting such bad luck with the hands as of this live stream? And then as for the flag, yeah, and then yeah, he can just hold it as a flag. It also feels when you hold the barrel into his hand, it feels okay. It feels slightly less tight. Still pretty tight, but it's like not like crazy tight, like holding in the handle. This one's fine. Like, man. Like, the tolerances for his hands feels like crazy tight. Like, what's up with that? I will say, as far as tolerances go for Cosmos, yeah, like, aside from, I believe, like, even with how tight the hands are, the accessories are in the hands, I believe as I play with that, that's gonna get better. I feel like aside from this shoulder being too loose on this axis and being slightly too tight on this axis, I feel like aside from this shoulder, the tolerance and the hands, I feel like the tolerances on Cosmos is great. Aside from those two things, but overall, Cosmos's tolerances pretty good, really good. Even with the weird flaws with the shoulder and the hands. It just like looks, and to my surprise, it actually like looks really good in person, in hand. This looks really nice. Just looks really nice. And so, let's go ahead and transform her. Boop. I do like how you can just like flip this. Boop. Yeah, that's pretty neat. Look at that. Now his head's all tucked in. That's neat. Let's go ahead and flip the hands in. Let's straighten out the arms. Let's untap these, flip these back. Let's go ahead and of course flip these up. What we can then do is untab this, flip this little panel outward like that, rotate this. Wait, we push this in? Well, I haven't seen. Oh, I forgot I could do that. Then legs go out. Flip these down. Guess plug the legs together. Okay, then you plug the legs into, and oh, okay. So you flip the, so you use this hinge. Let's pull that out so we can use that to, so we can use that transformation hinge to move the legs back so we can realize that. Then plug the side skirts into the legs, and then the arms into the side skirts, and then the front into the arms. Make sure everything's all nice and lined up. Okay. And is that it? I believe that is it. Here we have here we have Cosmos in his vehicle mode. And to be honest, now that I have it in person, I initially thought that like this part was going to be like way too like that this portion of the UFO mode is going to be like way too way too large and way too tall. Now, I will admit, now that I have it in hand, I will admit it looks significantly better in hand than it does like on than the images tend to look. But I will say if at all possible, it would have been nice to have it a little bit shorter, but still work with the robot mode. That still would have been nice. But even that, like, it still doesn't look that bad. Like, it's still plus it's an it's it's a vehicle mode based off of like a UFO design, based off of like a sci-fi like UFO, like of course it's going to be like really like significantly unrealistic. This is like a nice, just kind of sits there. There's no obviously under here. There's no wheels or anything. It just kind of sits there. And you know what? It looks good sitting there. It's a nice little hockey puck of a shuttle mode, space shuttle mode. I like that. That's nice. And of course, there is blast effect compatibility to be had because you can plug these into the front, have them blast like that, or you can just simply plug it into the gun. Because like even a lot of these like legacy, even a lot of these like newer, more modern Transformer figures still have that compatibility to, like that's like sort of started sort of started becoming a big thing with Siege. And so yeah, you can just plug that into there, or you can plug this into the side like that. Or if you're feeling particularly silly, you can try to remove this, see if you can plug it into the back like that. Have him look like he's carrying a flag with him, like some planes would do. Or if you want to be really, really silly with it, and what's happening here? What's keeping his... Oh, what's keeping his head from... Oh, I think it's I think this is keeping his head from... I think like because I had done push this piece in, I think that's what's keeping... I think that's what's keeping me from being able to rotate his head. But you know what? You are gonna have to like untransform a considerable amount, at least enough to be able to pull this back out. But it is like, but you can do the poof thing. But I'm cool with that. That's a nice little shuttle mode. I like that. I like Cosmos. Cosmos is really neat. I think they did a good job. I think they did a pretty good job with Cosmos. And with that, we have Cosmos, Wheeljack, Tarantula, and Elita 1. There we go. And with that, here we have all 4 of these figures opened up and in their vehicle modes. And like, overall, I was very pleased with this. The Elita one was like slightly more disappointing than I had originally thought. It was slightly more disappointing, to be real with you. But ultimately, it didn't really matter with the Elita 1 since I already have Elita 1. I'm sure if I spend a little bit more time with these two together, I'm sure I can figure out something to get like to do something about this and determine like which one is better out of the two. The Tarantulas is awesome. The Tarantulas is really cool. I like Tarantulas. Sideswipe was just, man. Let's talk about Cosmos. Like Cosmos like was like a really awesome. Cosmos, he works well. Does have a nice. Does feel nice. And most of his tolerances were pretty good. There was a couple things for tolerances that was kind of holding him back, but aside from that, this figure was like really nice. Definitely glad to have him in my collection of like Transformer stuff. And then as for Armada Wheeljack is just awesome in my opinion. Definitely really enjoyed like this one. Just and I'm more than sure that a part of that is just the fact that I like the Siege figures so much. I have some like nostalgic feelings for the Siege figures. But even then, like it's just like a really cool figure. And of all the like sideswipe Siege and of all the figures that utilize this mold, I am glad that my first one that the first one that I am to own is this one. It's like a really cool. It's really cool. Really nice. Definitely really like the colors on this one. Really like the colors on this one, and of course like the extra features, the extra little features with the sword accessories definitely adds to that. Like this one honestly like almost feels out of place when compared to these other ones. Yeah, that overall, I am very pleased with 3 of these figures. And you obviously know which 3, these ones. The Elita one, by the way, I have like plugged in the extra Elita 1 accessories into there to make it look a little bit nicer. The Elita one, at least initially doesn't feel quite nice. Oh, and to add extra salt on the wound. The wheels on this Elita one doesn't. I don't think. Yeah, it doesn't really roll quite as well as this one, as my previous one, as my other one either. But overall, I am very much pleased with this, and I did have a very good time getting opening these up and like messing around with them. And I guess with that, I think that'll be it for this live stream. If you enjoyed this stream, consider to like and subscribe, and maybe even interact with the chat if you want. And if you're inclined to watch future streams that I do, I tend to stream at once on the weekend during the weekends. I'm trying to make it more consistently Sunday, if at all possible, but I am guaranteed to at least do one. At least for now, I am guaranteed to at least do one stream per weekend. During one of the like weekend days, I tend to start my streams at, and I do start my streams at 8 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. In case you're wondering on when you can, when those start, and then after that, that is about it. Hope you hope you had a good time watching, because I do appreciate everyone who stopped by to watch. And with that, that's gonna have to be it. You have good